What is up, everybody? Today we're doing the rare vlog style stuff. We're talking about the Leica 25-50, a lens I've been asking for and talking about for a good while, if you're familiar with the channel. And it's finally out. know I switched to a 35-70 at the last second, but beggars can't be choosers. It's out. So am I gonna put my money where my mouth is and actually buy this thing? And I think the answer is probably. It looks pretty cool. The real disappointing thing about the Leica 25-50 to me is that Panasonic didn't send me one to test. I feel like they should have, but if anybody knows Panasonic, let them reach out to me or send me their way or send them my way, because this is like, I feel like I was hyping this lens before anybody. Check the date. I got the receipts. So, I really do think that 35-70 was gonna be the better choice overall, but I really can't be mad. And I think, again, this lens is gonna take over so many lenses I already own or other people might already own. I think it's gonna be worth it. In fact, if you watched my Leica 10-25 video that I originally made, I talked in that video a lot about how that lens is actually really good value given the features you get from it. So let's look at my little Google Doc here. So the price of this new lens, I figure, is gonna be like $2,000, $2,200, especially because the telephoto lens versions of everything is always more expensive for one reason or the other. But it's actually the exact same price as the 10-25, which is pretty cool, actually. I'm pretty glad they kept the price of the 25-50 pretty much the same as the 10-25. That's really handy. And I think, they always make the telephoto version of things more expensive. This 70-200 is always more expensive than the 24-70, stuff like that. But I think it's a good call to keep this the same price, because if they made it any more expensive, I'm pretty sure there'd be riots in the streets. So why does this make sense? Well, if you think about it, almost by definition, the 10-25 is going to be more useful than the 25-50. A wide to standard versus a standard to telephoto by itself is already going to be more useful. In addition to that, I think that 20-50 range from the 10-25 is just so revolutionary and unique. And that was the big selling point of it for me. And its general purpose usage, having a good zoom range, having a good aperture, was really cool. 25-50, only a 2x zoom range instead of a 2.5. Same aperture, but just in my opinion, the 10-25 is still going to be on my camera 90% of the time, or maybe only 70% of the time, 75% of the time now that the 25-50 is out. But I think you guys get where I'm coming from. The 25-50 is more niche, but also less useful overall, which I guess is what niche kind of means. It's only super useful in a very specific set of uses. And so keeping it the same price is good, because if it was any more expensive, I think it would turn a lot of people off from the lens and buying it. So the reason I do these sort of comparisons is because a lot of people are going to say this lens is super expensive, it's super overpriced. And in my perspective, especially for video people, it just really isn't. And so here we're just kind of proving that it's not always that simple. So you guys are probably thinking, I could probably just get a cheap Panasonic 25 and 42.5 millimeter 1.7, get the same results, and you're probably right. But the specs, the aperture, the focal lengths, don't really tell the whole story, So with those two lenses, you're looking at basically $500. That's not bad. That's really good. But the thing is, you're missing out on a ton of features. Obviously, those lenses can't zoom, so you're gonna have to be switching back and forth a lot. But more importantly to me, those lenses aren't weather sealed. They don't have aperture rings. They don't have a manual focus clutch. They don't have so much stuff that the 10-25 offers you that I really don't see them being used in a professional sense. The 42.5 does have image stabilization. That can be nice, but it's not enough for me. I think the 10-25 is clearly superior to those lenses just because it's got the zoom, it's got the aperture, it's got the focus clutch, it's got the weather sealing. I don't know. Let's see if the Leica lenses can do it. So these lenses are like half a stop, 2/3 of a stop faster, but at the same time, together they're like $2,000, you know, or more, depending on how you get them and where you get them. And so for me, it's like, okay, these lenses are $300 more expensive. What do you get for that? Pretty much just the aperture. I mean, if you really look at it, they don't have focus clutches. One has a clicked aperture ring, but it can't be declicked. And I don't even think the 42.5 isn't even weather sealed. And so you're paying $300 more for less of a range, less focal length options, worse minimum focus. The 42.5 has pretty bad minimum focus. So you're not going to be able to get as close up to your subjects and your detail shots and all things like that. And yeah, it's just the fly-by-wire focus ring, no weather sealing. They might be slightly smaller still, but I don't know. These are some of the least appealing options to me once again. So for this video, I'm not even going to really mention the Olympus budget lenses for the primes because, you know, they're just the Panasonic primes, but worse because they don't have image stabilization and worse autofocus. So sorry, Olympus budget 1.8 primes, you're out. You're off the island. Got an interesting vlogging lens here today. Let's see if anybody can guess what it is. And you know, I'll give you a hint, I'm not on the GH5. So yeah, but let's go back to it. We got the final lens that we're talking about today. Actually, we've got two more. The Olympus Pro lenses, very cool. You know, they're f1.2s. They've got a 25 and a 45 to cover this range. And that's going to run you about $2,600. So they've got the clutches. They've got the weather sealing. I think these are top tier options for video. But are they good enough to beat the 25 to 50? Well, if you need that speed, you know, they're 2/3 of a stop faster. So yes, that could be awesome, but they don't zoom, no aperture rings. I don't know. So yeah, the Olympuses again are going to end up being one of the more interesting native options that have electronic contacts for me, just because they have all the features you'd need for professional video stuff, the aperture, the other specs, as well as some of those physical controls that we like so much. But I still think I would rather have the 25 to 50, just because it's going to pair up super nicely with that 10 to 25. And you know, those two lenses are going to have a better range and feature set than the entire Olympus Pro set. So sorry, Olympus. So the last lens that we're talking about is going to be that Sigma f1.4 lenses that came out for the MFT. They got the 16, 30, 56, and obviously the 30 and 56 are going to cover the range for our purposes today. And I don't know, they're pretty good lenses, but for video, I don't know. Some of them are weather sealed, some of them aren't. We've got a couple that have decent fly-by-wire, but generally they're not that good. No aperture rings and a pretty limited range. 56 does go a little bit further, but generally I think they're not going to be the most user-friendly in terms of handling, but obviously you're going to be able to get great results with any of these lens sets. I just think personally, when it comes to features per dollar, the 25 to 50, 10 to 25, clear winners in my book. So yeah, I really don't think these lenses are overpriced. I think they're priced just about right for professionals. What's really overpriced though, I'm going to give you the definitive list of overpriced Panasonic and Olympus lenses. So first, we've got the Panasonic 200mm f2.8 coming at $3,000. So we got one focal length, not great minimum focus, 400mm equivalent, f5.6 equivalent for depth of field at least. $3,000 seems like too much. Moving on. Very similar story. Olympus 300mm f4. So a full frame 600mm f8. That's going to be $2,900. So $100 cheaper. It's got IS, but it's too expensive. And the most overpriced lens for the micro four thirds system has got to be the Olympus 150 to 400 f4.5 with the 1.25 teleconverter at $7,500. So when you see this lens, the f9 equivalent, almost, approaching $8,000 lens, you realize that $1,750, $1,800, it's not that bad. So what do I think about the 25 to 50 sort of on its own? Well, I think it is pretty much everything it needs to be. And the reason I say that is because it's really the only lens in that super fast to zoom telephoto category for micro four thirds. Sure, you can get the Sigma 50 to 100 and adapt it, but the range isn't going to be the same, and honestly, you're not going to get the same features like weather sealing and things like that, and it's going to be huge, and it's got some problems of its own that we're not going to talk about, like the focus breathing. But the 25 to 50 just seems incredible. It's got all the features of the 10 to 25 and a little bit more reach, which is what I've been wanting as someone who's really obsessed with like getting really out of focus backgrounds and shots, and it being able to be just swapped out on a gimbal or something with the 10 to 25 for really quick stuff. I mean, I could even see me taking this on like a film set now. In fact, I just might. They're basically a tiny little lens set, which is what I've been trying to get Panasonic to do for a while, is get, they're a super video friendly manufacturer. Why don't they have video friendly lenses? In fact, I really think the 10 to 25, the 25 to 50, and the Olympus Pro lenses are really the only true video lenses for micro four thirds. I mean, that's 5-6 lenses. I mean, there's a reason people adapt Canon lenses, adapt the Sigma 18 to 35, and do all this sort of stuff. So yeah, am I gonna be getting the 25 to 50? Well, I'm gonna have to count some dollars, pinch some pennies, maybe sell some lenses, but it's definitely something I am very interested in getting. Has all the features I wanted to see. It's got a great range. And if you're doing mostly commercial stuff, like setup, short film, setup commercials, there's really nothing like it. Is it a little short for events? Yes. But, that's why you got your 35 to 100s, your 50 to 200s, your 40 to 150 Olympuses. And I think this is a great addition to MFT, and, I couldn't really be happier with what Panasonic's been doing recently. So let's see if they keep it up, and let's hope, for more 1.7 zooms or some of these primes we heard some news about. So yeah, what do you guys think? Will you buy the 25 to 50? Do you like the range? And please leave that all down in the comments. I know this is a pretty thrown together video, but it really is just to talk about my impressions of the lens. I do need to get my hands on with it, and I'm probably going to pre-order it. Someone call Panasonic, I need it.